Good evening, Sir Mike. We are the Group 3. We're going to report about United Nations and contemporary global governance. So I'm going to discuss the introduction about the United Nations and contemporary global governance. So what is United Nations and contemporary global governance? So the United Nations is an international organization founded in 1945 to promote peace, security, and cooperation among nations. With 193 member states, it addresses global challenges like conflict, climate change, and human rights through its various agencies. In contemporary global governance, the UN remains central, but the increasing involvement of states, regional organizations, corporations, and civil society has transformed how global issues are managed. Challenges such as climate change, pandemics, and cybersecurity require more collaborative and flexible approaches, highlighting the need for adapted strategies in the evolving landscape of global governance. So to wrap them up, the purpose of United Nations is to promote international cooperation and maintain global peace and security. What are the key functions of the UN? Number 1. Maintaining peace and security. The UN works to prevent conflicts, mediate peace negotiations, and deploy peacekeeping forces to areas of unrest. Second, promoting human rights. The UN advocates for the protection and promotion of human rights worldwide through instruments like the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. 3. Fostering economic and social development. The United Nations help address global challenges such as poverty, education, health, and environmental sustainability through various specialized agencies. And then 4th, providing humanitarian assistance. The United Nations coordinates and provides aid to regions affected by natural disasters, conflicts, or food insecurity. And the last one, upholding international law. Through institutions like the International Court of Justice, the United Nations helps resolve disputes between states and promotes adherence to international law.
The next is the international organizational. International intergovernmental organizations are groups that primarily made up of member states. Intergovernmental organizations are entities created by treaty or other formal agreements among sovereign states. They primarily consist of member states and are established to address issues of mutual interest such as economic cooperation, security, and social development. Next, that it is not just an amalgamation of various states' interests. Explains that the international organizations are not merely an amalgamation of various states' interests because their role and operations often transcend the immediate priorities or preferences of individual member states. IOS in the last decades were perceived as just a venue where the contradicting but sometimes intersecting agenda of states are discussed. Explains that the IOS have increasingly been perceived as venues where the often conflicting, yet occasionally overlapping agendas of member states are discussed. This perception arises from several key factors that characterize the functioning and nature of IOS. The perception of international organizations as mere venues for discussing intersecting but contradictory state agendas stems from the complexities introduced by fragmented governance structures, competitive agenda setting, the influence of non-state actors, and limited enforcement capabilities. As states continue to navigate these challenges, IOS will likely remain critical spaces for negotiation and dialogue in the international arena. Next is the IOS power. IOS have power of classification. The power of classification held by international organizations refers to their ability to categorize, label, or define issues, actors, and phenomena in ways that shape global governance and influence international relations. This power stems from their authority, legitimacy, and specialized expertise, allowing them to create frameworks that impact how states, societies, and individuals engage with global challenges.
Mabuhay everyone! I am Joshua Umo, a BSHM 2 Section 1. So my topic is all about international organizations. So international organizations have power to fix meanings, and state organization and individual with IOS as a legitimate source of information. As such, the meaning they create have effect in various policies. For example, UN defines security not just term of safety from military violence but extends to safety from environment harm. So the statement is international organizations have power to fix meanings. So means the international organization like the United Nations or the World Health Organization have strong influence on how we understand certain concepts, meaning the international organization fix the different direct impact on policies, government, and other organizations. Use this definition when creating laws, regulation, and programs. So let's say, for example, the World Health Organization has defined health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. So IOS or the international organization have the power to shape our understanding of the world by defining the concept. This influence can have a significant impact on how we think about. So the next one is it's all about the norms. So IOS have the power to diffuse norms. Norms are accepted code of conduct that may not be strict law but produce regularity in behavior. So right, norms are unwritten rules that guide our behavior. They are not laws, but they can just be powerful in shaping how we act. Right? So for example, is in the Philippines, it's a norm to greet people with mano po, to show our respect to the elders. This isn't a law, but it's a common practice that shows respect and builds a sense of community. And institutions and organizations can influence these norms. For example, a company might have a policy of promoting diversity and inclusion. This policy become a norm within that company, right? So encouraging employees to treat each other with respect, regardless of their background. So while norms aren't written down, they still very important in IOS, or the institution, organization, or international organizations can help change and shape these norms, making a positive impact on society. Next is international organizations are considered as missionary of our time. So international organizations like the World Bank or the United Nations are like modern day missionaries. They spread ideas about how the world should be run, often promoting specific ways of doing things. For example, the World Bank promotes certain economic policies, influencing how countries manage in their finances. This makes them missionaries or their ideas, shaping global norms and practices. So that's are considered as missionaries of our time. Another one is development project. International organizations can be sources of great good and great. So meaning international organization or the IOS can be incredibly helpful in development project. So bringing resources and expertises to improve lives, but they can also have unintended consequences. Let's say for example, so the World Bank might fund dam project to provide electricity and irrigations. This is good, but the dam could also displace people and harm the environment. So while the international organizations can be a source of great good, it's important to be aware of their potential impact, both positive and negative. So that's the development project. International or IOS can be sources of great good and great.
What is United Nations all about? The United Nations or UN is an international organization founded in 1945 after World War II with the primary goal of promoting peace, security, cooperation, and human rights around the world. Its mission is to prevent conflicts, foster diplomatic relations between countries, and address global challenges like poverty, climate change, and human rights violations. Overall, the United Nations is a essential platform for international dialogue and action, aiming to foster global cooperation to address the challenges of the modern world. What is General Assembly? The General Assembly or GA refers to a key decision-making body in various organizations, but it is most commonly associated with the United Nations. Here's overview of what the General Assembly is all about. Overall, the General Assembly is an essential forum for diplomacy, debate, and international cooperation, particularly in the context of the United Nations. That's all. Thank you.
I am Martin Balane, and my report is about Security Council. Security Council, Home, Peace, and Society. The Society Council has primary responsibility for the maintenance of international peace and security. It has 15 members, and each member has one vote under the character of United Nations. All member states are obligated to comply with Council decision. The Security Council takes the lead in determining the existence of a threat to the peace or act of aggregation. It calls upon the parties to a dispute to settle it by peaceful means and recommends method of adjustments or terms or settlement. In some cases, the Security Council can resort to imposing sanction or even authorize the use of force to maintain or restore international peace and security. Now, why Security Council 5 permanent members? The 5 permanent members of the United Nations Security Council were granted their status based on their importance after World War II. The victors of World War II, the permanent members are the victors of World War II of the recognized successor is China, France, Russia, United Kingdom, and also the United States. Next is resort to impose sanction. Yes, the United Nations Security Council can impose sanction to maintain or restore international peace and security. First, authority. The Security Council authority to impose sanction comes from Article 41 of the United Nations Charter. Next is purpose. Sanctions are non-military enforcement option that can take many forms, including economic and trade sanction, arms embargoes, travel bans, and financial restriction. Effectiveness. Sanctions are most effective when the part of a comprehensive strategy that includes peacemaking, peace building, and peacekeeping. Sanction regimes. There are 14 ongoing sanction regimes, each administered by a sanction committee chaired by a non-permanent Security Council. It has 15 members. Yes, the United Nations Security Council 15 members has 15 members, 5 members and 10 non-permanent members. Permanent members are China, France, Russia, Federation of the United Kingdom, and the United States. These countries were the victors of World War II or their recognized successor states. They have veto power which allows them to block any substantive exclusive Security Council resolution. And there is a non-permanent members elected by General Assembly for 2 years, and non-permanent members are distributed geographically with a certain number of seats allocated to each of the 5 United Nations regional group. Election usually begin in October for a term starting January 1. Outgoing member cannot be immediately re-elected. The Security Council responsibilities include determining the existence of a threat to the peace or act of aggression, enforcing resolution, UN peacekeeping, which are military force provided by a member state meeting at any time as the need arises, with a representative of each member representative at UN headquarters of all times. The Security Council first session was held on January 17, 1946 at Church House, Westminster, London. It has since taken permanent residence at the United Nations headquarters in New York City.
The next one is the Economic and Social Council, or ECOSOC. ECOSOC focuses on economic, social, cultural, and health matters, as well as human rights. ECOSOC functions include coordinating the work of the UN and specialized agencies, promoting higher standards of living, of full employment, making recommendation to the General Assembly, granting consolidated status to non-government organizations or NGOs. ECOSOC consists of 54 members for the 3-year term recommended by General Assembly. The example of ECOSOC is they conducting studies of human rights and how they develop the organization or environment to which it can give and such a good impact in the community. And the next one is International Court of Justice. The International Court of Justice, the UN principal judicial organ which settles legal disputes and provide advisory opinions. It comprises of 15 judges elected by the General Assembly and Security Council. This International Court of Justice is different from economic or ECOSOCs, which is they consist of 15 judges elected by the General Assembly also, and the court official language are English and French. their official language in the International Court of Justice is they speak English and French because they visualize or they surrounded by the international people.
The Secretariat. First is, it consists of the Secretary General and 10,000 of international UN staff who carry out the day-to-day work of UN. The UN Secretariat is one of the main organs of the United Nations, responsible for carrying out of its daily operations. It is headed by the Secretary General, who oversees around 10,000 international staff working in various roles worldwide. These employees are impartial civil servants working for the UN itself, not representing their home countries. The Secretariat handles tasks such as peacekeeping, humanitarian aid, and promoting sustainability development. Ensure the UN mandates are implemented effectively. The second is the bureaucracy of UN. The bureaucracy of UN, United Nations, refers to its administrative structure, primarily managed by the UN Secretariat. This organ handles the day-to-day operations of the UN, guided by the Secretary General and supported by thousands of international staff. This employee work as impartial civil servant, focus on tasks such as a peacekeeper, humanitarian effort, development programs, and upholding international law. The bureaucracy ensures that the UN programs and mandates are executed efficiently across its global operation. The third is, member of the organ will function as UN employees, but not as a representative of the representative states. Member of the UN Secretariat function as an international civil servant. They work for the United Nations as a whole rather than representing their home countries. This ensures their impartiality and commitment to the UN's principles and objectives rather than the nation of interest. Challenge of the United Nations. First is limit due to state sovereignty. The UN must respect and sovereignty of its member state, restricting its ability to intervene in domestic issues, even in cases of human rights violation and conflict. Second is dependence of voluntary cooperation. The UN relies on the willingness of member states to participate and support its initiative. Without this cooperation, its ability to act effectively is diminished. Third is lack of global government authority. The UN is not a global government and has no authority to enforce decisions directly. Its power is limited to the consensus and support it's received from its members. Fourth is non-cooperative of states. If member states refuse to comply with UN resolution or mandates, the organizational influence and effectiveness are significantly reduced. Fifth is security issues. Managing global security is one of the most critical and challenging area for the UN. It depends on member states for
peacekeeping force and efforts often facing delay and efficient contribution. These changes limit the UN's ability to address global issues like conflict resolution, humanitarian crisis, and sustainable development effectively. And conclusion, global governance is a highly complex and challenging endeavor requiring coordination among diverse nations with varying interests and priorities. The United Nations, as one of the most visible symbols of global governance, plays a crucial role in promoting peace, security, development, and human rights. While it is not a world government, it is the closest entity to such an institution, embodying and principles of multilateralism and international cooperation. However, the UN operates in a precarious position, balancing respect for state sovereignty with the need to address global issues. Its effective depends heavily on the voluntary support and cooperation of its member states, making its influence limited in situation. Coordination fail to align with its goals. Despite their challenge, the UN remains an essential platform for addressing global problems collectively.